The night was unnervingly quiet, the kind of silence that made Captain Elena Drake's instincts tingle with unease. Standing on the observation deck of the colony's command center, she scanned the starry expanse above, searching for something, anything, that might explain the sudden stillness. The planet, cold and desolate, rarely offered comfort, but this silence was different. It felt like a predator's pause before the strike. Sergeant Marcus Cole, her second in command, approached quietly. "Captain, the perimeter sensors picked up a disturbance about 10 clicks out. Could be nothing, but I thought you'd want to know." Elena nodded, her gaze still locked on the horizon. "Dispatch a scout team, but keep them on high alert. I don't like this quiet." As Marcus relayed her orders, Elena's unease deepened. The colony, Haven's Reach, was a fledgling outpost on the edge of known space, a place for humanity to stretch its wings and explore the untamed frontier. It wasn't supposed to be a battleground, but as she knew all too well, plans rarely survived first contact with reality. Minutes later, the silence was shattered. A low hum vibrated through the air, growing louder with each passing second. Elena's breath caught in her throat as a massive shadow loomed above the colony, blotting out the stars. The alien warship descended slowly, its sleek, angular design gleaming under the pale moonlight. It was unmistakably KRKTH, a species known for their ruthlessness and disdain for all other life forms. "Alert the colony," Elena ordered, her voice tight with tension. "Prepare for immediate evacuation." Marcus's fingers flew over the console, triggering alarms throughout the settlement. The once quiet night was now alive with the sounds of chaos, footsteps pounding on metal, the shrill wail of sirens, and the panicked shouts of colonists rushing to safety. A harsh, grating voice crackled over the comm system, sending chills down Elena's spine. "Humans of Haven's Reach, this is Commander Thrak of the KRKTH Dominion. Surrender now, and you will be spared. Resist, and you will be annihilated." Elena's jaw clenched. She knew what surrender meant: enslavement, degradation, or worse. The KRKTH were not merciful conquerors. She turned to Marcus, her eyes hard with determination. "We're not giving up without a fight." Marcus nodded, his expression grim. "I'll get the defenses online, Captain. We'll make them regret ever coming here." Elena moved to the tactical display, her mind racing. The colony's defenses were rudimentary, designed more for deterring wildlife than repelling an alien invasion. But they had one advantage: the KRKTH didn't see them as a threat. That arrogance would be their downfall. As the alien warship descended further, its weapons arrays humming ominously, Elena made her decision. "Divert all power to the shield generators. We'll hold them off as long as we can. Send a distress signal to Fleet Command. If we're going down, we're not going alone." The shield generators roared to life, casting a shimmering dome over the colony. The first volley from the KRKTH ship struck with a blinding flash, but the shield held, if only just. Elena's heart pounded as she watched the tactical display. Every second they survived was another second closer to reinforcements, another chance to fight back. The KRKTH would soon learn what every other enemy of humanity had learned the hard way. Humans were never as easy to break as they seemed. The battle for Haven's Reach had begun, and Elena Drake was ready to face whatever came next. The ground shuddered beneath Haven's Reach as the KRKTH warship unleashed another barrage. Explosions lit up the night sky, reflecting off the colony's flickering shield. Captain Elena Drake's knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of the tactical console, her mind racing to find a solution. The shield wasn't built for sustained attacks of this magnitude. They were running out of time. "Captain, shield integrity is at 40% and dropping fast." Sergeant Marcus Cole's voice was tense, mirroring the urgency of the situation. Elena nodded, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. The KRKTH warship was circling, searching for a weakness. "We need to buy more time. Divert power from all non-essential systems to the shields. We'll hold out until the last possible moment." Marcus hesitated. "That'll leave the colony defenseless if the shields fail." "I know," Elena replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her chest. But if we don't hold the shields, there won't be a colony left to defend. Marcus relayed the order, his face grim. As the lights dimmed across the command center, the hum of the shield generators intensified, vibrating through the floor. Elena took a deep breath, pushing down the fear that gnawed at her. She couldn't afford to falter, not now, not with so many lives depending on her. Outside, the colonists huddled in makeshift bunkers, their faces pale with fear. Families clung to each other, parents shielding their children from the terrifying reality above. Elena's heart ached for them, but she forced herself to stay focused. Sentiment wouldn't save them, strategy would. Suddenly, the warship ceased its assault. The silence was deafening, more unsettling than the explosions. Elena's eyes narrowed. What are they up to? Her question was answered moments later as the KRKTH warship deployed a squadron of drones. The sleek, menacing machines shot toward the colony with lethal precision, bypassing the shields entirely. Elena's pulse quickened. The drones weren't targeting the defenses. They were heading straight for the power generators. Marcus, we've got incoming drones. Get the ground teams ready. This is going to be a fight on all fronts. Marcus didn't need to be told twice. He activated the comms, his voice firm as he issued orders to the security teams. All units, engage the drones. Protect the generators at all costs. Elena watched the tactical display as the drones descended on the colony, swarming like a pack of predators. The ground teams scrambled to intercept them, but the KRKTH technology was advanced, far beyond what the colonists had prepared for. One by one, the drones breached their defenses, inching closer to the power generators that kept the shield intact. The command center's walls reverberated with the sounds of battle, distant gunfire, the high-pitched whine of drones, and the muffled cries of wounded soldiers. Elena's jaw tightened as she keyed the comms to broadcast to all units. This is Captain Drake. Hold the line! We cannot let them take the generators. Our survival depends on it. Through the haze of fear and chaos, a grim determination settled over the colony's defenders. They fought with everything they had, knowing that surrender was not an option. For every drone that fell, another took its place, but the humans pressed on, driven by sheer willpower and the refusal to be conquered. But then, the shield flickered, a brief, almost imperceptible blink. Elena's blood ran cold. Marcus, status on the generators. Cap, we've lost the south generator. The shield's failing, there's nothing left to divert. Elena's breath caught. The end was near, but the battle wasn't over. Prepare the evac ships. If we can't win this fight, we'll make sure the KRKTH pay dearly for every life they take. The colony's shield flickered once more before it died, a dying ember snuffed out by the relentless assault. Captain Elena Drake's heart pounded as the reality of their situation settled in. There was nothing left between the KRKTH warship and Haven's Reach. The evacuation was their only hope, but even that seemed like a long shot. Marcus, status on the evac ships? Elena asked, her voice tight with urgency. Marcus didn't look up from his console. First wave is almost ready to launch, but we're short on time. We need to hold them off until the civilians can get clear. Elena's mind raced. They had a handful of ships and too many people. There was no way everyone could make it out. Her gaze hardened. We'll hold the line as long as we can. Get the civilians on those ships, and prepare the rest for a final stand. She activated the comms, her voice echoing across the colony. This is Captain Drake. We've lost the shield, but we haven't lost the fight. Evacuation is in progress. Soldiers, buy us every second you can. For Haven's Reach, and for humanity. A chorus of affirmations crackled back through the comms, each voice carrying a mix of fear and determination. They all knew what was at stake. Outside, the colony was a battlefield. The KRKTH drones swarmed like locusts, tearing through buildings and shredding defenses. The colonists fought back with everything they had, rifles, grenades, even improvised weapons, but they were vastly outnumbered. Still, they didn't back down. It wasn't in their nature. Elena watched from the command center, feeling the weight of every life lost. Her fingers itched to join the fight, to be out there alongside her people, but she knew her place was here, coordinating, strategizing, and leading. They needed her to keep a cool head, even as everything around them burned. "Captain, incoming transmission from the KRKTH warship," Marcus reported, his voice tinged with disbelief. "They're offering terms of surrender." Elena's eyes narrowed. Surrender? The KRKTH weren't known for mercy. This was a trick, a ploy to buy time while they tightened the noose. "Patch it through," she ordered. The screen flickered, and the grotesque visage of a KRKTH commander filled the display. Its chitinous exoskeleton gleamed under the ship's harsh lights, and its mandibles clicked in a mocking rhythm. "Human, your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and we may consider sparing the lives of your civilians." Elena's jaw clenched. "You'll forgive me if I don't trust the word of a species that specializes in genocide." The KRKTH commander's mandibles spread in what could only be described as a cruel approximation of a smile. "We offer you a chance to avoid total annihilation. Refuse, and your colony will be erased from existence." Elena leaned forward, her eyes burning with defiance. "We don't surrender. You might destroy Haven's Reach, but you won't break us. Humanity doesn't bow to tyrants." The commander's smile vanished, replaced by cold indifference. "Then your fate is sealed." The transmission cut out, and Elena exhaled slowly, feeling the tension ease from her chest. She had bought them a few more minutes, precious time to get more civilians to safety. But they needed more than time. They needed a miracle. "Marcus, send out an emergency distress signal. We need backup, anyone who can get here in time." Marcus nodded and began transmitting, but they both knew the odds were slim. The nearest human fleet was days away, and the colony wouldn't last another hour. As the battle raged on, Elena's thoughts turned to her father, a soldier who had fought and died in the first KRKTH war. He had taught her that humanity's greatest strength was its resilience, that no matter the odds, they never gave up. She could only hope that strength was enough to see them through this time. A deafening explosion rocked the command center, sending sparks flying. Elena steadied herself, her resolve hardening. There was no turning back. If this was the end, they would face it head-on, with courage and defiance. The colony's evacuation was nearly complete, but the KRKTH were closing in. Elena knew the final moments were approaching. The time for strategy was over, now it was a matter of survival. The battle for Haven's Reach would be remembered, if anyone lived to tell the tale. The sky above Haven's Reach was ablaze, a hellish tableau of fire and metal. The KRKTH warship hovered ominously, unleashing waves of drones that descended upon the beleaguered colony like a plague. Captain Elena Drake's eyes flicked across the chaotic battlefield, her mind racing with calculations. She knew their time was running out. "Captain, the last evac ship is ready to launch," Marcus reported, his voice strained. "But we've lost half the perimeter. We won't be able to cover their escape for long." Elena's gaze hardened as she watched the drones tear through the outer defenses. They were outgunned, outnumbered, but they weren't out of options, not yet. She turned to Marcus, her voice calm despite the storm around them. "Send the ship. Then prepare to overload the reactor." Marcus froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You're talking about a suicide mission, Captain. That explosion will take out everything within 100 miles, including us." Elena's expression was resolute. "It's the only way to make sure the KRKTH don't follow our people. If we go down, we take them with us." There was a long, heavy silence as Marcus processed her words. Finally, he nodded, his voice filled with quiet determination. "Understood. Starting the countdown." Elena's heart pounded as she activated the colony-wide comms one last time. "To all remaining personnel, this is Captain Drake. The evacuation is complete. We're initiating the final defense protocol. Fight with everything you've got, and know that your sacrifice will save countless lives. For Haven's Reach. For humanity." Her words echoed through the shattered colony, a rallying cry for those who had stayed behind. Soldiers, engineers, and volunteers, all prepared to face the end with courage. They had chosen this, knowing the cost, because they believed in something greater than themselves. As the final evac ship lifted off, Elena watched it disappear into the clouds, her chest tightening. That was it. Their last hope was now in the hands of those brave few, flying towards the unknown, away from the inferno below. The ground rumbled as the KRKTH warship unleashed a barrage of energy beams, reducing what remained of Haven's Reach to smoldering ruins. Elena braced herself, gripping the edge of the console as the command center shook violently. "Marcus, status on the reactor?" "5 minutes until overload," he replied, his fingers flying across the controls. "It'll be tight." Elena nodded, her eyes narrowing. "That's all we need." Outside, the colony's defenders made their final stand, fighting with a ferocity born of desperation. They knew there was no escape, no victory to be won, but they fought anyway, driven by a stubborn refusal to give in. The KRKTH drones swarmed closer, their relentless assault overwhelming the last pockets of resistance. Elena could hear the screams of dying soldiers over the comms, but she forced herself to stay focused. There was no room for hesitation, no time for doubt. "Captain, they're targeting the command center," Marcus warned, his voice laced with urgency. Elena's eyes locked onto the approaching drones, their cold, metallic forms slicing through the air like blades. She drew her sidearm, the weight of the weapon familiar and comforting in her grip. "We hold them off as long as we can. Then we finish this." The drones descended, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Elena fired, her shots precise and lethal, taking down one drone after another. Marcus joined her, the two of them standing side by side in the face of certain death. As the drones closed in, Elena's mind flashed to her father's words, spoken so many years ago, *. "When the darkness comes, you stand your ground. You don't run. You don't hide. You fight because that's who we are. The reactor's countdown reached its final seconds. Elena took a deep breath, her resolve unshakable. She glanced at Marcus, who met her gaze with a determined nod. They had done all they could. Now it was time. "Goodbye, Haven's Reach," Elena whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of battle. Then, with a final, defiant smile, she pressed the button. The world erupted in a blinding flash of light, and everything went silent. Haven's Reach was no more, but the KRKTH would remember the cost of their victory, and they would never forget the name of Captain Elena Drake.